Hello and welcome to another edition of a Google Hangout for Channels Beam. Today's topic is still on terrorism, and today we're going to be looking at the new developments in Nigeria's fight against the Boko Haram insurgency. So many things have come up during the week, and on this Hangout, we'll treat a couple of them. We have about 4 or 5 people already on the Hangout who are ready to join this discussion and air their views about it. We have Mr. Abraham Awobem, who's calling from Hull in England. We have Ben Cosmos. Ben, where are you calling from? Please come again.
I'm calling from Malaysia.
Okay, great. Thank you for joining, Ben. I have Chukwe Buka.
Where's Russia, Ukraine?
Chukwe Buka.
Russia, please. Russia.
Oh,
Thank you.
Russia. Okay, interesting. Okay, thank you for joining the Hangout. We have Olumuyiwa, who's calling from New Zealand, I believe. Come again?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, great. We have Sonny Kiri. Sonny is calling from, well, he told me Sambisa Forest earlier on. Please, Sonny, where are you calling from, really? Hello? Sonny, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, great. So where are you calling from again?
I'm calling from Dubai.
Oh, great, not Sambisa Forest. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so gentlemen, please, your webcam is a bit reduced, Sonny. So please either step back a bit or, yeah, I think that's better. All right, thank you. So I'll just start off with you, Sonny. You have joined so many hangouts over time, and we've been about this issue a lot of times. So many things have happened, but in the past week, I mean, it has about all the terrorist attacks had suicide bombers involved, and if not all of them, majority were female children. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Sonny.
Hello?
Yeah, Sonny, I'm asking you what your take is on the recent developments in this whole insurgency thing.
It's kind of worrisome because we started hearing about females, young girls trying to bump, and so someone is kind of worried about that.
Hello?
Heard from the government that those not those girls. So I don't know how this is a way of this latest development is kind of is kind of giving us some sleepless nights because over time we were hearing about bomb and all that, but now it has changed to other strategies. So I think what we need to do as a nation, we have to fight to the end, not with those promises that I'm hearing on the news that by December we are going to end. I don't like those kind of news. Even the present. Is it the chief of staff or the defense minister? When they appoint him, that was is it not February or he was saying I think January he was saying something that by April bring Boko Haram to an end. I don't like those kind of promises. If they have something in mind to solve the situation, they should go ahead and solve it than to coming on public to make some public statement that so time. And we are fighting with people, and these people we are fighting.
All right, Sunny, I can't hear you anymore. I think you're having issues with your internet. I'll get back to you, so please hang in there. So, Olu Muyiwa, what are your thoughts? Now, before you go on, there's a change in strategy for the terrorists. Now they're using young female suicide bombers. Would you say, or should we interpret this as the the military is actually laying hold of their former techniques, but perhaps they have mastered their techniques and they're already countering them, and so now the insurgents are changing tactics. So does that in any way show that there has been progress? Is that what this
No,
means?
no, I don't think so. I think it's a continuation of the reign of terror that we've been witnessing for close to 1 year continuously now. The Boko Haram guys are not changing their techniques. As a matter of fact, I think they are getting stronger. I think they are doing better. I think they are showing to the Nigerian military that they are more capable than they are. I also think that they are more intelligent than the Nigerian military. We mustn't just begin to mistake the use of female terrorists as anything new. People who are versed in the area of terrorism will tell you that it's not gender specific. Fine, it's not something that we are used to in Nigeria, but the point remains that terrorism anywhere in the world can actually be perpetrated by anybody, male, female. In countries that have been terrorism prone, you talk about Iraq, you talk about Pakistan, you talk about Afghanistan. We've had instances of female suicide bombers. It's not something entirely new. It's only coming out as a surprise because we have a history of such issues not happening in Nigeria, and it's something that we're not used to as a nation. And over the last 5 years, since we have had Boko Haram coming into full force, we haven't seen such madness in court happening. Again, I'm not part of those school of thought which believes that it's probably the cheaper girls that are being used. The Boko Haram network is stronger, much more stronger than the 276 Chibok girls that were abducted. I think it's a way of them telling us that they've been practicing all this before now. They're only testing what they practiced. They've had series of willing suicide bombers in the past. It's just that the Boko Haram leadership hasn't had the opportunity, or hasn't felt that there was a need for its leadership to make use of its female suicide bombers. I don't think they are connected with Chibok girls. I think the Chibok girls will do better for Boko Haram if they keep them in some business where they are being kept, rather than if they were used for suicide bombing. That said, it shows again Nigerian security leadership is losing the war. It shows that things are going wrong. It shows that we are not getting things straight. And more importantly, it shows that the North, as a geopolitical zone, has very serious systemic problem. And that people don't seem to realize that this war of terror is beyond what the leadership of the country can solve. More importantly, it shows that the northern society, the cultural society that people used to be proud of, has been so bastardized, and people don't care. It's not about religion. It's about a system that is failing across board, from the head down to the toe. And this has nothing. This has not got to do with the presidency or Nigerian leadership alone. It has to do with everybody who is bound to be a leader in Nigeria, particularly leaders from the north, who have watched helplessly and quite ridiculously also watch their region get destroyed by these agents of the devil. And for me, I see it as a lose-lose situation for the north, and a lose-lose situation for the Nigerian state if nothing urgent is done about it. So your question about whether the military is winning the war in terms of them being able to arrest Boko Haram's initial use of male suicide bombers or serial bombings, I don't think so. I think Boko Haram is upping up his game, and I think we are entering another phase which could prove to be very fatal for the entire Nigerian state if care is not taken. So we need to watch it. Something drastic needs to be done, and I do hope that those who are in charge of the security apparatuses in Nigeria will do the right thing, because it's a dangerous phase we are entering to, and a dangerous phase that can naturally threaten Nigeria this time around to its foundation.
Now, you've spoken extensively about this, and really, from what you have said, it's like everyone really needs to be scared. But I have a question. Why now? Why would they start using young? I mean, it's different if they're using adults, female suicide bombers. Now they're using young girls. But why now? in the light of the fact that the girls are yet to be back?
Well, the point remains still it remains the same thing. It's very easy, much easier to speak to a young woman or a young chap, other than you want to convince a grown-up man. It takes just about, psychologists will argue that it takes just about 21 days for you to corrupt the mind of an individual, or for you to win an individual over to yourself. If you are with somebody for 21 days, you can totally brainwash that person. It doesn't matter whether you are male or female. They're using female suicide bombers, younger female suicide bombers now, because they are perhaps the most vulnerable in the society. One, two, religion is so important, so strong an effect that if not properly used, it could cause a whole lot of damage. There are a whole lot of rubbish or gibberish that could be spoken into the minds of these young chaps, and because they are still very naive, because they have a tendency to get afraid, because they are lily-hearted, because they don't have a mind of their own, because they are supposed to be under an authority, and whatever the authority tells them might be true, or even if it's not true, they are bound to accept that those things are true. There is a willing market, a ready market available for suicide bombers to make use of. Don't also forget that we're talking about a set of people who claim to be, in quotes, Muslims, and they could delve into the Quran and make use of all whatnot to convince these ladies. More importantly, these females making use of are very, very young, very tender-hearted, and they can easily be swayed by emotions, swayed by threats, swayed by anything that could convince them. And for me, I see it threatening. I see it quite scary, but it goes beyond that. It's a systemic problem. The system, in this case, has to do with the family setting that we used to have in Nigeria, particularly in the North, which used to thrive on the Sultanate, has failed, and they must admit these things. It's not about you just wanting to commit atrocities because someone tells you. It's about somebody somewhere not doing his or her job as parents. It's about the fathers and the mothers of these children neglecting their sole responsibilities. And these arguments can be two-pronged. It could be a function of poverty, poverty of the mind now, not necessarily poverty of the pulse, poverty of the mind in terms of you wanting to believe that an idea is right because several other people believe it is right. And more importantly, it could also be a coerced idea. So whichever way you look at it, there are always willing markets for these guys to make use of, particularly in a section of the country where officially people tend to believe that their religious leaders, so to speak, are demigods, and whatever their religious leaders tells them could be right. So whichever angle you're looking at it from, it's so certain that there are markets. Even if Boko Haram decides not to make use of female suicide bombers, they are willing to, in terms of thousands of unemployed youths, who will be so willing to support their cause because there's a market for it. And the government, unfortunately, has failed to identify that market. Even if they had identified that market in the past, they have failed to block those loopholes. And we're paying for it now. People are paying for it. And unfortunately, if nothing drastic is done, people continue to pay for it. It's a plain truth. There's nowhere in the world where you have terrorism that's serious, and you've had a very, very lackadaisical approach from the authorities. The performance of the Nigerian state has been woeful, so to speak. In those days when we were still in secondary school, there used to be a grade between an A and an F9. Nigeria would score something below an F9 in terms of the way it's handled this issue, both from the military perspective, from the psychological perspective, from the political perspective, from the economic perspective. In all facets, this government has failed in terms of security. And the leadership of the North, again, also has failed. So it's a two-pronged argument, really. There is a market. Forget about female suicide bombers. There will always be willing people to die for this cause we're talking about. It's about religion. Remember what Karl Marx said. It's an opium of the poor. The last hope of, so to speak, the common man.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, Chukwuebuka, it's been a while we had you on the Hangout, and finally you're here. We haven't had you speak about this issue in a while, so I know that you must have some form of accumulated opinion about it. You know, what is your take, really? And do you know, first of all, do you agree that this new trend of young female suicide bombers is actually Boko Haram, you know, another winning edge, so to speak, for the terrorists? Do you agree with that?
Forgive me if I ask this question. Can you hear me clearly?
Carry on.
Good. how did we get to know these female suicide bombers? Who saw them? Apart from the news, who saw these female suicide bombers? Or is it another assumption? Is it another media propaganda? Who saw these female suicide bombers?
Well, if we have the police officially reporting that they are suicide bombers, I mean, do you have reason to not to believe?
Oh, of course, the police reported that the suicide bomber was 18 years old. In what country do you know the age of a suicide bomber 5 minutes after the bomb blast? In Nigeria. Forgive me, I forgot. Please ask me your question.
So I was asking that assuming that the bombers are female and they are young, do you see it as another winning edge for the terrorists?
Okay. I see it as, what do I see it as? A winning edge. I think that is what they've had always. They've always been on the winning edge. They've been winning the propaganda war, and they've been winning the real war. They win the war on social media. Boko Haram is more publicized than the Nigerian government and the Nigerian military forces, which is exactly what I think is very good for them. That is one winning edge for them. They win the edge in the sense that they kill more Nigerian civilians as the days go by. They have this winning edge that they are now putting Nigerians against each other. So instead of fighting Boko Haram, we are now fighting each other to find out where Boko Haram is from. You can't say he's from the north. It has nothing to do with Islam. He's not from the east. It has nothing to do with Christianity. They are on the winning edge on every angle. Come on, what are we talking about? On every angle, they are on the winning edge. Nobody is talking about the government's efforts to curb anything. The only thing we are seeing is the menace Boko Haram is causing in the society. So on every angle, Maiwa, they are on the winning edge on every angle.
All right, I have another question for you. There was a time, at least over about a month or two ago, that when people speak about this fight against insurgency, the issue of the army not being paid, well enough, that's foot soldiers and all that, not being paid well enough or not being treated well enough. We heard lots of cases of soldiers running away, from attack as opposed to, different things. But now it seems as though we don't hear so much of that. Do you think anything has changed in that light?
Okay, I think, okay, what do I think? I think the fact is that we leave the relevant things for the less relevant things. Okay, trash that. I think we tend to distract ourselves with some things that are not supposed to be. For God's sake, why would you pay these soldiers? If they are risking their lives, you might as well pay them. Why would you pay these people? Okay, that is not my problem exactly. What I want to talk about, when you talk about our soldiers and payment and everything, I think they have, the military is a disciplined outlet, I believe, and I believe they have a chain of command. And I believe when things are not being done right, the military should handle it themselves. I don't believe the non-payment of fees is the only thing going wrong in the military, and they don't tell us. And then they don't get some money, they don't get their salaries paid, and the whole nation, we get to know, they get to protest and stuff. That is not the only thing going wrong in that sector, but we don't know about any other thing. This is the one we know about. I don't know the kind of message it goes to preach about how we live as a nation, because I cannot prove it now, but I bet you, if you investigate, non-payment of salaries is not the only problem the military is facing, but that is the only problem they publicized, and they are no longer talking about it. Okay, probably because someone is afraid of being court-martialed, or probably because they have been paid. I have no idea.
All right, Chuka, a final question before I move on. what do you think we need to be doing now? What do you think the government needs to be doing right now?
If you ask me, now who I go ask? It's okay. What should the government be doing? I think the question should be, what should they not be doing? I think that is what it should be. What should they not be doing as the federal government? I think they should not be paying so much attention to our Nigerian Tea Party. I think they should pay attention to what we have at hand. I think they should continue with whatever it is they are doing. I think they should not be distracted. I think they should make it a priority that Nigeria and Nigerians are safe. I think they should not make it an ethnic something. I think they should not make it a political war. I think they should see it as what it is. It's terrorism. It's wrong on every corner. I think they should not continue in the with the blame game. Oh, you are responsible. Oh, you are not responsible. I think they should all come together and work towards restoring back this nation. It's been 5 years of hell. It's been 5 years of hell. It's no longer funny at all. It's no longer funny. It's been 5 years and 5 years and counting actually. Of course, except of course, I'm hoping that the ultimatum, the Witches and Wizards Association gave the Boko Haram. I'm hoping it will expire soon, so that even not for anything, we have sanity a little bit.
All right, thank you, Chukebuka. Ben, what are your thoughts?
Well, my thought is I think the issue of Boko Haram insurgents did not start today. This thing started way back in the military era where later bomb was used to execute a top Nigerian that was in government then. And because we felt he was tyrannically and oppressive, so the unpopular government politicians in the military government then prompt some audience, other Nigerians to stage a protest around the whole country. So this thing started way back, and because of some people felt this leadership was not suited to their region, they decided to hijack this Boko Haram issue to get their own evil desire to make this government, for me, they're trying to make it ungovernable for everyone. First of all, let's look at, I was born in the north. I grew up in the north. I speak Hausa very well. I was born in Kano, in Hotoro, where this bomb blast recently happened, because that petrol, the mega station is not even far. It's about just few kilometers from there to my house, where I was living before, where I was born. So even when I was living in the north, the reason why we left the north to Abuja was because of the fear, and we left the north around 1999 to 2000, when we began to have this fear, when they started killing late midnight, so you can't sleep with your eyes closed. So imagine what started since then. So my dad said, no, we can't continue to live here, and so let's just relocate. I still have my relatives, some of my uncles who are still staying in Kano. But the issue there is that now some of the northern leaders they need to be questioned. They have a lot of questions to answer. The northern leaders, the elders, those who have governed this country before, who felt that who have governed this country before, and now they felt that because the presidency is no longer seated to their side, they have to use what they have to get what they want. But when you check at the north now, you check the high unemployment rate in the north is very, very high. Two, the higher education rate in the north, I think is very, very, I think they have the lowest so far. Though some of them are not trying to go to school, because recently I called one of my friends. He said they were like giving free education to them, encouraging them to go to school. But if you check till now, it's still high. You still see the Alama Juri schools all over, and these people are very, very easy to tell them. Anything you tell them, they're very, very easy to convince to join them. And let's not forget that some of these people are so religious. I mean, they are so fanatics that they don't want any other religious person to come close to them. If you don't believe in their faith, they call you Arna. I've stayed in that place, I've seen a lot of threats. They will threaten you with their dagger knives. But I'm not surprised that this issue of bombing using women has just come up. I'm not so surprised, because these people are planning ahead of the military. And the reason why they are planning ahead of the military, trying to beat every security strategy, every checkpoint, is because they have people in government. There are people in government who are financing these people. So if only we can cut off their supply, I think we'll be able to get these people. But this Boko Haram that started now is a different ball game. It's a different set of Boko Haram that has been captured. People capitalize on it. This is the only way they can make this government to be ungovernable, by killing innocent people, you know, causing havoc here and there. And no, when it comes to the matter of issue of religion in Nigeria, you have to be very, very careful. You have to be very, very careful, because once it comes to religion, if you don't know how you put it, because like the Senate President said, when it comes to the issue of this child marriage of a thing, he said Senator Yerima use religion to blackmail them. You know, so you have to be very, very issue. I know what he was afraid of, because this is religious issue. You know, if you don't tackle it squarely with caution and care, it will lead to something else. And we Nigerians, we are so religious between the north and the south. And once it comes to Islam, some people will do anything to see that they protect their religion. They will do anything, you know. So this is the issue on ground. This is the issue on ground, and it's like a truth on the neck of Mr. President. Because for me, as far as I'm concerned, the president is a kind of, though I won't say he's failing, he's trying his best. I mean, he's trying his best, but in as much as he's trying his best, the people around him, some of the information he's getting may not be what he's supposed to get. Some people are feeding him with fake, false information. And being a politician, he has his own plan. He has to play to the galleries, and he has to play on his own game. He's trying his best. A lot of military has given their life has lost their life because of this issue of Boko Haram. You can see recently some top high-ranking military who died when there was an ambush. Nobody's talking about these people, but military men are dying, policemen are dying. They are not just the only one, you know, involved. Civilians are also dying, but that is why they have to also take every precaution to see that they also protect their own life, because these people, they also have families to cater for. They have children in school they have to cater for. So this problem is becoming more complicated every day by day. Now it's children now, you see. So I think the government need to step up their game. The military honestly are trying. We need to commend them for what at least they have been trying. It's not easy, you know, with the kind of tough situation. We all know the problem of Nigeria. The issue of payment of salary, not payment of salary, it's not only in the military, you know. So it's not only, they are not the only ones, even in the police. Even before now, sometimes the policemen, they don't go on strike, but some of them, they're like 2 months, 3 months salary, they have not been paid. This issue did not start today, but the problem at hand is that these children, they have been living on the streets. The northern elite and the government who were ruling this country before have failed to help their people. They have failed to give their people a better education, build good educational facility. They left them in the hands of so-called malams who just read anything in the Quran and, you know, tell them another thing. Because as far as I'm concerned, I don't think all of them can recite the Quran very well. What you see them right, it is only when someone who you felt he knows how to read will read and interpret for you. So whatever he reads and tell you, that is what you believe, because what is written there you don't know. It's not written in English language. You see, so
Right.
these things are problems. I
Thank
hope you
you.
get what I'm saying.
All right.
So this
I'll
is
get
what I
back
can
to you
say.
then.
Yeah.
Mr. Abraham, I hope your audio is good now. Okay. Can anyone hear Mr. Abraham on the Hangouts? Ben, can you hear Mr. Abraham?
I can hear you.
Can you hear Mr. Abraham? Mr. Abraham is speaking, but I can't hear him.
No, I can't hear him.
I can't hear him either.
Okay, Mr. Abraham, it seems no one can hear you on the Hangout. All right, so here's what we'll do. I already posted a question in the chat box. So please do try to respond to the question, and then I would read out to everyone else. All right, so Sonny, I mean, same question I put in the chat box. Up until recently, attacks had only been in the Northeast, you know, and thereafter we had attacks outside the Northeast. At first we had in Abuja. It actually started with Abuja, and recently we had Kano and Kaduna. What is happening? Is it that the military was successful at first, and is it that they are now relaxing on their orders, and, you know, terrorists are now penetrating again? Or, I mean, what exactly is happening?
That question is for me, right?
Yes.
Okay, I think what is happening is the terrorists, they are trying to put confusion that of in those parts, because recently they to Abuja. From there, they now shift back to Terrorists are not people that have a particular barrack or station in a place. So if we want to fight terrorists and defeat them, it's not this issue of carrying guns around the country and every part of the state. If we want to really fight these people, I think there are better way of fighting them than putting armed men around everywhere, except it has come to a stage whereby they come face to face with the military. Because this issue of terrorism is not something that people are in one particular part that you're seeing. What we need to be doing in that of the military and intelligence gathering is very important, because we have to set our security system into digital so that we can monitor things going even in the social media, every part. Because, like, for instance, if you put army in some part of that northeast, and the terrorists feel that since there is no way for us to carry out operation in this part, I think they might even shift to other part of the country, not even in the north. They can even shift to other part of the country to carry out their activities, just to throw confusion in the country. So what I think they are really trying to bring more strategy into the game. So what we should be discussing is how we can really win this battle, and it's not all about putting army and policemen all over all the corners. We have to fight this game. We have to fight this security system through digital, and we have to work with our houses like MTN, Google. They should try to also help in this fight, because I believe these people, they are making calls, they are sending messages, they are sending emails. And one other thing we need to do is we have to set our security in digital world, not carrying arms and gun around everywhere, armored car, because you are not fighting these people in one particular area. They are everywhere. They might be in this hangout, you don't know. So if they have succeeded in giving us a lot of suspicion out now, if not that Nigerians are kind of people who intermarried and live together all the years, these people might have caused more problem than this, because they have succeeded making Christians to think to fight each other, but they refuse. Now we do those things we think we have not been doing as a nation and also a government, because some people believe that this is all about federal government affair, and since the government is not capable, that is not our problem. Like someone said in your station, in your one of your program, I think last month, about he said the issue of terrorists is all about fighting for power. Yeah, and that is how it is. Anywhere in the world, they all fight to control. And their mission is to control. And therefore, if someone believes that he's fighting for power, he can do anything he likes to win the battle. So we really need to put our house in order so that we can fight these people to defeat them. And in my opinion, I suggest that the government should try a way of finding where these people get their fund, number one. Number two, they should track their communication system, where and where, because even the medias, they are not helping out. Because all you hear is how they attack. The media, I don't even know how they got their information that this is Boko Haram, they are talking there. So we really if we want to win this war, we should stay away from politics and think of a way of winning. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So if we really want to win this war, we should think as one nation. Because if this goes on more than what it is now, it might cause a problem in Nigeria. Because Some people think it has not come to the Niger Delta. They are not concerned. Maybe in the east, they are not concerned in the west. But this is giving us bad name anywhere. You are talking about terrorists. Now, this is happening in some part of the north. People don't really know what it has cost in those areas. So you don't have Nigeria is a country that we are trying to even do competition with some African countries in terms of development. And now we are having this huge issue of bomb every day to destroy the little that we have managed to build over the years. So if we really want to fight this fight and win them, it's not all about the military. Our military men, we are just being trained how to handle rifles and just, that is all they know how to do. This is something very new for them to even handle. They are trying harder. They are trying, but this is
All
more
right.
than.
Sorry to cut you there, Sonny. I want to drop in another question. Now, you've said the same way so many others have said that this is a collective fight. We all have to fight together. We all need to be sensitive, and with this new trend of female suicide bombers and people you do not suspect strapping bombs to themselves and just going into public places, there is a need for everyone, particularly about everyone, to be conscious and to be suspicious in a way. Do you think there's enough sensitization? For instance, when we've had other issues, probably health issues, you had issue of HIV/AIDS at a point, was all over the place, and then you saw that there was this serious campaign. The people were being sensitized. AIDS is real. There were adverts all over the place. This is what you need to do. Use protection. And all of that. And terrorism is like the new problem for the country, for everyone. But do you see such a campaign going on, sensitizing people, telling them what to do, how to look out for suspicious people around them, how to look out for potential suicide bombers? I mean, do you see that going on right now?
Yeah, thank you. Now you come. These are the kind of things we should be doing as a nation. And also, at this stage, it don't really mean that the federal government has to come up with that campaign. No government organization can do that. NGO can come out and try to enlighten the public, because this issue is all about security and is trying to be vigilant all time, trying to know what the person next to you is about to do. Even when you are in a you are in motor park, try to look for things that are not normal. Look for those things that you think that are suspicious. I know in terms of reporting issues to our security men is kind of difficult in our country, because when you make any report, they might come after you, things like that. But however, we have to look for a way, because we can't go on this way. It's not going to help us as a nation. We have to fight. And I think it has come to a stage whereby everybody have to involve. If you are living like 50 people in a street, and you think that street is a busy place, let those people try to come up with a little security challenges that they can do. Maybe you can set up some CCTV camera in that area to monitor, because we are talking about life now. So we have to work together with the government. I remember back then when I was in Nigeria, in my state, in Delta State, these guys are coming to terrorize every time. What we did then is to come together and provide army men in that area. When we put we build a security post for them, and every 3 weeks the army there, they change duty. When we put that, no armed robber is coming to terrorize that area again. So people have to come out to do things that will help the government. The government is just there. They have
All right,
done
Tony.
they
I'll
can,
come
but
back to you.
as a nation, we have to come together to fight this issue, because it's not all about carrying guns around. It's
All
more
right,
than that.
Tony. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I'll come back to you. Mr. Abraham, I hope your audio is good now.
Well, I don't know. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
thank goodness. It's good. I can hear you now.
Right.
So
Okay.
I
I don't
know
know
that
what's
you, are,
going on.
you would have a couple of thoughts to share concerning what we've been talking about, but I'll quickly pose the same question to you. Um, Sonny says, the government doesn't necessarily have to put up a campaign, to make people aware about terrorism and the fact that it's real, it's among us, and it can happen anywhere. And these are the signs to look out for. I mean, do you agree with that? Because honestly, for an educated person, it is easy to just log on to Google or any, just log on online and find out all signs of, and all of that and do their own personal research. But what about the pepper seller on the side of the road? How is she to know? And, we've had cases of suicide bombers attacking markets, or at least not suicide bombers, but bomb attacks, vehicle laden with bombs and all of that. How do I know as a market woman that this is what I should be looking out for? So, do you agree with Sonny that the government doesn't necessarily have to start such a campaign, that we can all just do it by ourselves?
No, well, I mean, it's about, as with anything in life, it's about rights and responsibilities, isn't it? So, if I'm a taxpayer, I expect something in return for the tax that I pay. If I took the trouble to vote someone in on the platform of certain undertakings they have, certain programs they have made, certain promises they have made, then it's reasonable for me to expect they will keep their promises. So I think the government definitely has a role in the life of the citizenry. Actually, the first and foremost task of any government is to protect the citizenry, both at home and abroad. So I think we cannot say the government should not be involved. They have to be involved. It's, well, to what extent? Well, obviously, we also talk about responsible citizenship, isn't it? And citizenry. So a lot of times where you find law enforcement agencies being very successful at what they do, apart from their own state-of-the-art tool of trade, they also rely quite heavily on the citizenry providing relevant information to help them carry out their work. So whichever way we look at it, we do need the government. But let me just say that, to be honest, I don't know if you've seen what I've entered into the chat box there. To be honest, and I could be very wrong, but one worries the way the whole issue is being handled. It makes you wonder if there's a whole lot more going on behind the scene than we're told. See, you're a press lady yourself. What we hear on the media many times is not the whole story. And therefore, the question is, what therefore is the ultimate agenda of all the interested parties, all the parties who think they have, who have stakes in this whole matter? That it seems this common Nigerian is now sort of like, it's a case, when you talk about two elephants fighting, and the grass suffers. It's almost like that's the situation, because it's hard for me to conceive that the government and all its supporters do not know more than they know and cannot do more than they've done. And then if they know more than they know and they can do more than they have done, then why have they not done so? So you wonder again, what's the real story behind the story? I don't know. But those who know. We can only appeal that whatever game there is behind the scene, I think it's cost a lot already. I'm amazed that often when they talk about the unity of the country and you want to talk about it, people are quick to say, oh, no, it's got to be one Nigeria, non-negotiable. Fine, that's great, But while on the one hand, nobody wants to really talk about the unity of the country, this insurgency matter is a worse cancer, a worse threat to the unity of the country. It's gradually gnawing its way through. We sleep, we wake up, all right, there's one bomb blast there, there's one bomb blast over there. People who know history, the big wars that have led to major disasters and catastrophes, the First World War, the Second World War, how did they start? A little bit of skirmish there, a little bit of assassination there, a little bit here, a little bit there, and gradually the cancer spread. And before you knew it, by the end of the Second World War, 53 million human beings were dead. And that's the way I see this insurgency thing. The leaders the powers that be, as it were, who know what they know and who think, look, we probably can play this thing to our advantage, thinking it won't consume them. To be honest, it might run away. It might run away from everyone at the end of the day and consume everybody. So I think it's time to appeal to all those who hold the aces that please, I think enough is enough. I'm not sure that we should allow this thing to fester on anymore without truly bringing it, to an end. Sorry, I'm rhetorical there, but I think those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Chukwuebuka, how do you respond to this? The story behind the story, the one nobody seems to know.
Well, Mr. Abraham has voiced my long thoughts. I've been talking about something like this because actually I think there is more to it that meets the eye, and I think I couldn't put it any better. He said it perfectly, said it quite perfectly. I couldn't put it any better. I'm not going to add anything to it. I agree totally, but I disagree with Sonny when he thinks the government should not have a part in enlightening the citizens about the situation at hand. When I said Boko Haram was winning the media propaganda war, they are doing it effortlessly. They are not even paying for it. They are doing it effortlessly. Channels will carry news about Boko Haram, AIT, NTA, all the blogs, all the papers, effortlessly. And see, every human being on earth is susceptible to the illusion of truth effect. That's where the more you hear about something, the more it appears to be true to you. Everybody on earth is susceptible to that effect, and that is the effect that these Boko Haram people are having now, because this media war, they are winning. So if the government could, if the military could, at least if the media also could focus a little bit more on the military, if the military, if they could give us hints what to look out for, how to respond, what to do in case of something like this. Things, because most people are quite ignorant of this. Most people don't get it. I don't even know what to do. So imagine if I'm seated and a cell bomber comes in, I don't even know what he's going to look like. I don't know what to expect. And maybe if I'm downstairs and there's a bomb blast, I don't know what to do. I think the government should look towards that area, publicize these plans or whatever. The military should have a spokesperson that would at least once every week answer some questions, right? Once every week, come to maybe your channels or whatever. Once every week, answer some questions, take some reports, give back some reports like that. So, if not for anything, people would realize that they are working. And then these other people that are going all over the media without paying a dime, I don't get it. I know it's going to cost a whole lot to advertise with Channels TV, but Boko Haram is being advertised on a daily basis without paying a kobo. My goodness. So I think the government should look towards that area. Real publicity now on the part of the military. I think it's, if not for anything, it's going to at least put the mind of one or two persons at rest. I don't know. But I think the government should actually, the campaign is necessary. The campaign is necessary. It is very. Educate the citizens. Let them know some things. Show them some things to look out for or stuff like that.
All right, I think Sonny wants to respond to, looks like we got him all wrong, and he wants to respond to that. Sonny.
Okay.
Yeah, hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
What I mean is that I said, in terms of carrying out campaign, is not something that only the government could do. Both NGOs and government, they can come together to enlighten people, because the government is like the government. I think they are all getting kind of frustrated with this fight, because they don't even know where to start from. So what I mean then was both NGOs and non-government organizations, and everybody can come together to enlighten the public. Because if we say government, I bet you we are not going to solve anything, because we have to come together and do everything that's possible for we to fight this fight to an end. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Olumoyiwa, do you have anything to add to this?
Meant all wrong. You see, in every situation you find yourself, there are two factors that normally should come into play. There is a sub-explanation and a super-explanation for every occurrence. Economics will tell you there's a superstructure and a substructure. Structure to a layman is what structure is a foundation. So take, for instance, you want to build a house, you need to lay the foundation before the structure can stand. So the question we should ask ourselves, I don't buy this whole idea of we asking civilians to watch over their backs. Fair enough, everybody should watch over his or her backs. The question remains that a suicide bomber, it doesn't matter whether you watch your back or not. He or she could hug you and you are dead. It's not a conventional warfare. And if it's not a conventional warfare, there's a very, very little, as in extremely little, effort or input that the citizens we can have. The bulk of the whole issue falls or rests on the government. In politics, we argue, we call it legal sovereignty. It's the right of the government to protect its people, make laws on behalf of the people, protect them, guarantee their lives and properties. It's the basic responsibility of any responsible government. When a government fails to do that, I'm not going to accept people then accepting the responsibility of the government on its behalf. What we have in Nigeria is that our government, led by the presidency, has failed. That realize that it's failed and then make urgent steps to redress. And why has it failed? Nobody has talked about the issue of corruption. Nobody has talked about the proficiency of the leadership. Nobody has talked about whether we even have a structure at all. I'm a political scientist by training, and I did my master's dissertation on Nigeria's role in conflict resolution in Africa, and I interrogated very specifically Nigeria's role in Liberia, and I found out the argument could be that when we went to Liberia, Nigeria was under a military, but that's the reason why we succeeded. We did succeed in Liberia because there was a minimum amount of discipline that the soldiers had. There was a leadership that was functional. Forget about whether it was a Babangida and it was a military man. The simple truth remains that from the top hierarchy of the military down to the last man, to the rank and file, there was discipline. Discipline in service, dignity about wearing the uniform. The allowances were being paid. I'm not so sure the ammunition we had when we went to Liberia are more superior to what this government has provided them. But why we are not winning is because this government has failed its citizens. Its inability to perform its basic responsibilities. The military hierarchy itself is so bastardized, so indisciplined, so corrupt, so much so that we hear in the news of late that allowances are not being paid to soldiers. There isn't any, as far as I'm concerned, there isn't any better welfare package for the boys who are on the field. You cannot win a war like that. So if you have a leadership that hasn't defined for you the modalities of operation, which route are you supposed to follow? So what we've had over the years, the last 2-3 years, is that we've not had, doesn't matter the amount of money spent on it. It doesn't matter the education we give to the citizenry. Boko Haram will continue until this government does the right thing. And the only way this government can do the right thing is to accept that I have failed, ask for help, replace the step, limit the excess corruption that we have in government, become more proactive, become more responsible, stop this blame game, become less propagandish in nature, and then face the facts as it is. If we don't do that, I'm afraid we're going to be beating around the bush. And that for me is the most important thing. The Jonathan presidency in the last 2 years, for me, it's been inactive itself. I don't want to believe that it's been inactive because it doesn't have the capacity to act. But I think that the three strands of Boko Haram that scholars have argued in terms of the political, economic, and the real Boko Haram are the factors that are coming into play. And how do I mean? The political Boko Haram comprises of both the ruling party and the opposition party, and then the political elites from the north. everybody with its own interest. The northern political elite, some of them would want to think that it's in our favor, it's in our good for this country to remain ungovernable, so that we could have an against this presidency from the south. That's the angle of the political Boko Haram from the north, from the northern elites. The political Boko Haram from the opposition, the APCs and all whatnot, would argue that for as long as possible, let's continue to pray that terrorism, festers on and insecurity grows, so that we can condemn this government and describe it as clueless. And then the political Boko Haram on the part of the presidency and the ruling party, these are people who would want to continue to impress on the president, or perhaps send the wrong signal to the president that he's winning the war, and then by so doing, they continue to of no return, have to need to seek for a second time. The late chief of National Security Advisor, General Uwe Azazi, did say that this whole crisis emanated from the PDP voting pattern and zoning formula that was jettisoned. I strongly share in some of those sentiments. But I have talked about the political, what about the economic? The economic are the people who are even more dangerous than Boko Haram itself. These are the people who want to continue to make sure that this crisis continues, so they could continue to feed fat on Nigeria's resources in the name of fighting terror. Compared to those who are in the ruling party, down to the last man gives orders to these boys. You could imagine this government wants $1 billion to fight terrorism. $1 billion, you can imagine how much or what $1 billion can do in the economy. How much roads $1 billion can construct. How much how many teaching hospitals $1 billion can construct. How many blocks of classrooms would you want to construct $1 billion? He wants to use it to buy ammunition, to supply kits, basic necessities, strong weaponry for the military. Some people or somebody will benefit from that. Those are the economic, angle to understand. Boko Haram themselves are those who are Islamic fundamentalists who think that the utopia of jihad is the best world and the most appropriate system for them to live in. Until we tackle those issues from those three perspectives, we're never going to win this war. We are fine. We have to educate ourselves. As citizenry must be.
All right. So sorry, Oluwamuyiwa, I need to cut in here. I need to ask you about the Victims Support Fund, which has been set up, and I mean, this is commendable, don't you think?
Can you hear me? Our government is saying that Nigerians, citizens, impoverished citizens, should contribute to Victim Support Fund. How does that sound? The government has failed to give people employment opportunities. The government has failed to provide jobs on the table of its citizens. It's asking me, or my parents, or my people, to donate out of the token I don't have. It's another way of embezzling money. It's another way of saying, well, we've tried. We're going to try to rebuild your foundations for you, but we need you to join us.
But then again, Nigeria's story has always been a paradox in the sense that you have we are Africa's largest economy, but the sad part of it is the wealth, they say, is trapped in the hands of very few. So don't you think perhaps these very few people who have the bulk of Nigeria's wealth can actually donate to this fund and not necessarily the people underneath?
Well, that's a good point, but if the government wants to do that, it knows the channels with which it can go about in getting monies from these guys we're talking about. Or when they are all the cabals, or when they donate to the ruling party for elections. We don't hear that. So they know how to get funds from these guys. They want to. What the government is trying to do is to play under propaganda game to say, well, we are doing something about it. We might not be winning the war at the world front, on the world front, but we trying to make sure that life is becoming more bearable for the ordinary Nigerian on the street. It's all propaganda. It's a laudable idea, no doubt, but does it have to announce it? I mean, do we have to then begin to publicize and beat the drums over the setting up of is that what we need now? We're going on daily in Kano, on the streets of Kano. How would it stop the girls who are in Sambisa from getting raped on a daily basis?
Let me move over to Mr. Abraham. Sorry, Oluwamuyiwa. Let me move first. Mr. Abraham, what is your thought on this?
Have been made already. You see, I remember a prominent American politician once said not to allow any crisis to go to waste. when that particular country had an issue at hand. And I just wonder if that's the philosophy our current the leadership is trying to adopt, to, not wanting to allow this insurgency crisis to go to waste, in the sense that, use it to some political advantage. Well, it's okay. Self-preservation and survival is a natural instinct for every human and group. So it's fair enough, but I still feel that if that's the reasoning behind the the way it's been handled so far, then they should have a second. They should please, for the sake of the country, have a second thought, because, like I said earlier, the whole insurgency issue has the potential to run away, from the very hands of everyone, and become self-consuming, i.e., consume everybody, consume the insurgents themselves, consume the innocent Nigeria on the ground, consume the leadership, just engulf everybody. It's happened in history before, and it can happen again. Um, it's okay to want to set up a fund to assist the victims, and then to make such propaganda out of it. But again, to be honest, I worry that I'm not sure how genuinely honest the intent behind it all is. And like Olumiwa said, you don't need to make too much noise about these things. Nobody's happy about. There's no rejoicing in this thing. Okay, so we don't need all the fanfare that went with it. It could have been done quietly. I mean, the Minister of Information, who incidentally happened to have been my student leader back in the university in those days, back in the mid-80s. I believe they could, micromanage that. The publicity around it better, So, but in principle, there's nothing wrong in taking a step to look after the victims, because anybody can be a victim. Most of the victims have been innocent bystanders, innocent people who just happen to have been in the wrong place at the wrong time. Unfortunately. So, and many of them, we hear of the number of the dead. I work in the health sector. Often when there's a mass casualty, it's not the number of the deaths that worry us. It's that worries us, but more importantly, or just as important, you have the people who are maimed for life, whose stories you never hear again. So you have people who lose their limbs, lose eyes, lose ears, and you will never hear about them again. They're not going to be mentioned in the news anymore. They become that silent, suffering majority. So to that extent, if in a fair manner, again, I worry, because you know how Nigeria is. It's a great country, but often when things that are meant to be beneficial to the common man, we all know how many of those programs end up in the long run. But if in a fair way they can aid, particularly people who will be scarred long term from the effect of this insurgency, I see nothing wrong with that. But to be honest, like Olumide said, there's no point making too much fanfare out of it. The government needs to stop this thing now, please. And that's what's more important. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I'll move over to you, Sonny. Now, this fund, what is your understanding of how the government is going to go about it? Is it that, do we have a record of these victims? Do we who qualifies as a victim? If I go and then maybe I hurt my foot or something, and then I just walk away just silently, and I go to treat myself, am I still? What do you think this fund? How do you think the government is intending to go about it?
I think what the government is trying to do, I will say, in my opinion, I think if I'm the person behind this whole issue of bumping, and if I bump a house, you said you will raise more money to take care of those citizens, then I will continue throwing bomb. So I think this issue of raising money to support the victim might have come when we have finally win the war and the terrorist game ended, then we cannot think of trying to rehabilitate those that have been affected through the crisis. But if we are trying to, as a government, if they are trying to raise funds for victims that have been affected, I believe you, we are not even going to get to end of it because some people might come from nowhere to scandal everything. We know Nigeria is all about if I'm there, I get everything for myself and my family. So that is the game we are playing in the country. So if government want to set up money for people that have been affected, it's good, but not at this stage whereby we are still fighting the war. What about if you put a block today, tomorrow they might come and bump it again?
All
So I
right,
think
Sonny.
I,
Thank
I,
you.
I think they should try to solve the problem on ground before raising money for people that have been affected. Thank you.
Okay, Chukwuebuka, what are your thoughts on this?
Maya, could you ask me a direct question?
So I'm asking about the Victims Support Fund, and I see
Yeah.
that you've made a comment in the chat box about
hmm
about it. I mean, well, from Sonny says, timing is not particularly right. Let it be afterwards. Olumoyewa and Mr. Abraham agree that we don't need to make so much noise about it. And I asked the question, how do you think, what is the process? Do we have a record of victims? Do we have such a record? So how do we know who's a victim? How do we know who's not a victim? And how do we reach them wherever they are? So that's what I'm asking. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Okay. You are the journalist. You should be giving me the record of the victims. I'm amazed you asked. I'm really amazed. You shouldn't ask me. I don't know. You should know. That's by the way. Talking about how they are going to reach the victims and share out stuff. That's too, I have no idea too. There is this thing that we Nigerians do because we've been hurt many times that we can count by countless leaders. So we have lost whatever faith that is left in humanity or whatever faith that is left in governance. Okay, I think what we should do is give them a little bit of what's it called again? What's it called? Just trust them a little bit, right? Just believe that they can actually do what they that was that were raised. I love the publicity that went with. Believe me, I love the publicity because these are things that governments do and they do not publicize, and people do not see whatever the governments are doing. Whatever little thing they can do like this, they even more than this. We should stop seeing just what is evil that these people are doing. We should also try and see what is good the government is doing. They raised over, I can't get the figures right now, but I'm very sure that the funds that were raised, were it would be a very wonderful thing for these victims, and it's going to send. Okay, I understand. And it's going to send a very strong message to both the opposition, to both the Nigerian people, that the government is actually behind you. The fact that they raised this, no, it's not politics. Let me answer the question first. The fact that they raised funds for the victims does not mean that they are not fighting to protect the people that are still living or people that are not yet victims. I think the publicity was good. I think the idea was good. For people that think it's politics and bribery, I disagree. I think the whole idea of that thing was good. To that extent, I'm going to applaud the media advisors of the president. That was one of the best moves they've made this year, as I have seen. It was good. If they want to do something like that tomorrow, still they should. There should be something coming from the part of the government that shows that they are at least interested. Right? They are at least interested in the welfare of these people, even if it comes in form of fundraisers, even if it comes in form of, I don't know, anyhow. But There should be a gesture from the government that, okay, actually, these are Nigerian citizens, and we feel for them. They've been through a lot. We feel money. Let's give these people some money. Let's help them relieve. Let's take. I applaud it. I do not criticize the move. I love the move. I love the publicity. I love how it went round as we are publicizing the bombs and everything. What I think should be less publicized is actually the attacks. If there's something that should be less publicized, this is why these people are gaining. This is exactly what they want. The kind of publicity they want, you are giving them. If there's something that should be less publicized, it is their efforts to disintegrate Nigeria. What we should bring up to the spotlight is the effort of the government and fellow Nigerians to make sure that that nation does not disintegrate. That is what I think we should be projecting. The fact that people are working to ensure the safety and the togetherness and the peace in Nigeria.
All right.
That's my opinion. I love the idea. I love the fundraiser. They should have another one next week, and the week after that, and the week after that. They should make these people feel at home. They should bring these people close enough to them. How does terrorism thrive in any land? How does terrorism thrive? Because it's being fed by the locals that think that the government doesn't care about them, or the locals that have little or no information about what the government can or cannot do. That is
All right,
how terrorism
Ibuka. I need
thrives.
to move over to Ben now, Ibuka. Ben, I see you've also made comments in the chat box. I'd
Yeah.
like to hear this. Go ahead.
Okay, what I'm trying to, I think I see a reason. I think the initiative of Mr. President to set up this victim support fund is a very good idea, and I support him for that. And I commend him for that, because even before he set up this committee for this one, if you go now, if you don't, in case you don't know, there are some churches. Some people, some of these victims are in some churches, in some northern part, like Equa Church. Yeah, they set up a camp in the church where they take care of people who are affected by this Boko Haram insurgents, and the church is scattering from them, and people are giving willingly for them, to cater for their feeding, shelter. Some of them are even in the Equa clinic there, to buy drugs and medicine. Women to buy drug medication, and some even cater for some pregnant women who are even putting to bed in the camp there. So I think people are giving even before the president happens to set up this thing. But what we should do is that we should also support the idea, because we don't have to just keep calm. Okay, just like saying when do you think would be the right time to set up this fund? When do you think these insurgents will stop? Okay, just like what is happening in Gaza. In case you don't know, people are setting up, people are still donating to Gaza, yet Israel is still bombing them. Countries are giving, like here, Malaysia set up an account where people go to donate. If you go to 7-Eleven, some of these are outlets, McDonald's, there are forms where people drop money. There's no, people are dropping money for Gaza, and yet Israel is still bombing Gaza. You say okay, when will Israel stop bombing Gaza? Yet people are supporting them. Countries are donating to them, to cater for them, help UN to set up relief camps for them. So there's no any better time to do this than now, because by the time you keep quiet, these people will feel rejected, and some of them that have been affected might decide to take up arms, and this will cause another clash between two religions. Yes, some people are like, now they have killed my father, they have killed my mother, I have no place to go, so the only thing for me is that I will go for revenge. And when you have more than 100 people who are thinking in the same direction, take to the streets, I don't know what you think will happen. So you will see it to be a clash between either the north and the south, and it becomes another fight to break out. But by the time you take these people in one place and you are helping them, some of them need to be counseled. Some of them need to be counseled. So it's not really easy. So we just have to help them. So the issue there is not by force. If you want to give, you give. If you don't want to give, you put your money in your pocket. That's just simple.
Okay, thank you so much. Gentlemen, it's been a wonderful time discussing this issue with you, but we have to wrap it up here. Please let's continue this conversation on Twitter at Channels Beam. You can also continue on Channels Television's Facebook page. This is really exciting, so please let's not stop here. Let's continue on Twitter, and please tweet at Channels Beam. Thank you so much.
Mayo, I have a suggestion, please. Can I?
All right, go ahead.
Could channels, at least when you want to discuss things about like this one, could channels try as much as they can to get someone that stays in Nigeria presently? Is there someone like that? here. I don't know. Someone that feels this pain directly. All right, don't leave it to us that we get the news. We see the news every day whenever you put it up. Not get us someone that feels the heat directly, that could relate to us better.
All right, Chukwuebuka, as you, I mean, noted, of course, but as you well know, that this particular platform, run by Channels Beam, is actually supposed to get opinions from Nigerians wherever they are and via social media. And this is open. This platform is open. We make it public. We let people know that there's a discussion such as this going on. And there are times when we've had, such people who you have mentioned join the conversation. But as it is public, it is open, and those who join are those who end up commenting about issues. But of course, we will do our best to make sure that people are more aware about this and that they do get to join. All right. Thank you so much. That is it for now. Of course, we'll continue the conversation after the broadcast is over. Thank you so much.
Mhm.